Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. That there's something wrong. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. Do you want to know what it is? You can feel it when you go to work, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Is the truth, nothing more.
This guy is a wrecking machine.
And I want to welcome everyone to King James Bible University Precept Mastery, and today we're going to be going through our weekly Israelite study. So hopefully the ones who have their books, we're going into the 7th piece of the Israelite Weekly, and we'll be getting ready to start another one, and we're going to be running that one a little bit different, so that's why we haven't actually put it out yet, even though we have it. However, if you have your Israelite Weekly study guide, what I want you to do is go to lesson number 7. We need to go to lesson number 7. We're going to look at that and we're going to go through it, because this one actually talking about we're going to be giving the flesh back to its rightful owner. So we're going to look at this. Let's look at it all together to where we can get an understanding on what this is actually talking about. So we're going to go through this and see what it's talking about here. And it's saying this. It's saying flesh given back to its rightful owner. The flesh is being given back to its rightful owner. So this is what we're going to be approaching. But as we approach this, we need to understand how, what, and why we need to do and give things back to its rightful owner. So we're looking at Genesis chapter 3, verse 17 to 19, as well as Exodus 8, 1-8 through 14, and Judith 5, 17 through 18. Now this is showing us a silhouette picture on what we need to be doing, but we need to dissect it to find out the precepts in here to understand what the Most High God wants us to do. So let's go through it. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 3 and verse 17. And we're going to look at everything since it's not long as each one. So I'm going to go through them and then we're going to start going through the precepts. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 17, it says, "And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, thou hast eaten of the tree," and we should know what that's talking about, eating of the tree, "which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herbs of the field." Verse 19, "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground. For out of it whence thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt thou return. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph." We need to know what Joseph means to understand how this works. So, and he knew not Joseph. And we know Joseph is tied to an increase. So just keep that in mind. "And he knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on and let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters." Need to know what this stuff means. "Afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities in Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor." Verse 14, "And they made their lives bitter in hard bondage, in mortar, and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service therein they made them serve was with rigor. In Willis they sinned not before their God, they prospered." They sinned not before their God, they prospered. Because the God that hate iniquity was with them. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and was led captive into a land that was not theirs, and the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities was taken by their enemies. This is the perfect example on what you need to see and how to understand something, especially when you're looking at something spiritually. They was led captive in a land that was not theirs, and the temple of their God was cast to the ground. What was cast to the ground as what we seen what Pharaoh was doing that knew not Joseph. So Joseph, he knew not, however, the temple was cast to the ground, but we have to give back to the owner that is rightfully his. If we would have never took it to where we had to pay for it, it's just like going in a store. And you go in the store and you looking to get something and you want something, but then once you go in the store and you get whatever you want out of the store, what happens here? You go in there and then some people are going to put some things in their pocket. Some people are going to put things in their pocket that don't belong to them. And when they put them in their pocket, they try to walk out. And what he does, he's going to make you pay for it, because once you're caught with that, he's going to make you pay for it. And you have to pay him on what is owed, because you can now become the debtor, and he become the debtor, and he is the one that's going to control who you are. So what we have to do is give back which rightfully belongs to that owner. And that's what we have to do. That's what we're looking at, and this is what we need to be doing. So if we're going to do this, we need to make sure we do this in a correct manner. That whatever belongs to the rightful owner, we need to give back to him. So how do we correct this, and how do we get this straightened out? Well, we got to look at some precepts. We have to look at precepts, because we do know a couple of things. Yahushua came in the likeness of sinful flesh to condemn the owner of sin in flesh. Because the flesh is one thing, but the owner is another. Meaning what? We got to look at these. We got to go through the precepts of this to understand we need to give back to his rightful owner. So let's look at this. We're going to go into Romans chapter 8 and verse 3. We're going to look at how this actually rolls out. It says, for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. It was weak through the flesh. Yahweh was sending his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. He condemned sin in the flesh. For what the law could not do, condemning what was wrongful things in the flesh and for sin. And that's the reason Christ came. We need to understand how this is all going to play out all together. We're looking at Romans chapter 9, verse 5, and it says, who are the fathers of whom as concerning the flesh Christ came. Who is overall. So he's overall flesh, but he's condemning the sin that's in the flesh. Christ came. God bless forever. Amen. Living in the flesh, many living their lives according to the flesh. And all flesh, we have to remember, is sin. If flesh is sin, why do we want to, and why do many of us don't want to give what belongs to his owner back to his owner? This is what you have to think about, because many of us, we want to keep that, what we believe now is ours, besides giving it back to its rightful owner. We need to be able to give back to him what belongs to him. In being in flesh, we will commit nothing but sin, because sin is in the flesh. And if sin is in the flesh and our spirit is there, either your spirit is going to give up and let the flesh end up controlling the spirit, but it's going to fight with one another. This is our problem today. But what happening here today is many of us are just letting sin run abound and just run in abundance. How do we know this? Because you can see this even today, as we don't want to give back sin to his rightful owner. In the controller of sin, we want to make sure we is kind of clicked up. Let's look at it, how this is working out, because this is what our problem is. And when we understand what the problem is, it's the only way you can correct the problem is to know the problem you have. Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 12, and it says, were they ashamed when they committed abominations? Were they ashamed? And he's talking about us. Were we ashamed when we committed abominations? Things that is most hated to God. Were we ashamed when we committed these horrible crimes, when we did things that wasn't normal for our body to be doing? Were we when we consumed things that was not to be consumed according to the law that's in the Bible? In many of them, he considered abominations. These are things we have to look at. So if we look at these as a whole, how is it, were they ashamed when they committed abomination? So remove were they. Just take out they. I want you to remove they. Put were you ashamed when you had committed abominations? That's what I want you to put there. Take out they and put you. So when we read it, it says, were you ashamed when you had committed abomination? Were you? Because if you were back then, you wouldn't be doing things that you're doing now. Because you don't want to give the owner of sin back what belongs rightfully back to him. You like it, you didn't put it on, you done got fitted with it, you like it, you're comfortable in it. And many of us are not ashamed. Why? That's why it says, nay, was not ashamed. And it says, they were not at all ashamed. You were not at all ashamed. You were not at all ashamed. Period. Why? Because we're doing just like our fathers. Doing identical to what our fathers was doing. Meaning the same thing. It says, neither could they blush. Therefore they shall fall among them that fall. In the time of their visitation, they shall be cast down, saith Yahweh. Are we serious about what's going on here? See, it's saying, were they ashamed? Were you ashamed? Were you ashamed for when you committed sin? Were you ashamed when you committed abomination? He's not even really saying sin, even though abomination is sin, but abomination is his most hated. So I need to correct myself and just let you know this is his most hated abomination. Were you ashamed when you did these things? See, when people truly want to turn and do what's right, when you truly want to do what's right, see, you should feel something even now, and you need to think within yourself and just think about some of the abominations that you have committed against God. And then we think we can just say, as what we've mainly been taught a lot of times, that we're going, just say I'm sorry, and like it, if he like it or not, he has to accept that. Were we ashamed? Nay, we were not ashamed at all. Neither could we blush. Therefore, we fall among them that fall. That's how you have to look at it. Don't remove they. In the time of our visitation, we shall be cast down. Remove the they. Put you there, and we can sit there and make a better relation to get us to understand exactly what he's talking about. See, we love to point fingers at everybody. Oh yeah, they doing this. They doing, oh yeah, they was doing this back then, but we doing, no. Stop. We need to stop that. Stop it. What we have to do is sitting there saying, what did they do so differently that we're doing now? Are we better than they? Nay. We are all going to be put in a predicament because it says, in the time of our visitation, we shall be cast down, saith the Lord. Because we're doing no different than our fathers. Let me show you something. So when we was doing those abominations, let's see what our father did. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 25. And it says there, and they were both naked, they was both in sin, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. At the time of our visitation, we were not ashamed. We were not ashamed. We didn't even want to give back to the rightful owner from which sin came. And on top of that, we tried to cover the sinful ways with fig leaves. These are things we have to really just understand. Stop putting in, and when we reading the scriptures, stop sitting there and reading and always implying to someone else. Take out they and replace it with you. Because this is what we're doing. Let's look at Genesis 3 and 7. We're perfect for doing this. It says, and the eyes of them both were open, and they knew they was naked. How did they know they was naked? That's key one. So they covered themselves in what was abundance and what was around there. And what did they do? What did they do? They sewed fig leaves together and made them aprons. Are you kidding me? This is, wait a minute. We're in sin, but we're going to cover it up. We're in sin, and this fig leaves is in the abundance because they're everywhere. And we covered it up with fig leaves. Now, fig leaves, if leaves itself, flourish the earth. We know that. And the earth has trees. However, what happened when we want to look at what leaves actually do in the purpose of a leaf that you see on the ground? What is the purpose of the leaf? What is the purpose of when you see trees? And you see trees and you see them in abundance, and then you see leaves on the ground. When you walk, stop walking out. Please stop walking outside carefree and don't know anything. The Most High God has set things out here for you to sit there to see, and how he's trying to talk to you through the beautiful things that he has placed in this earth for you to understand what he's trying to tell you, where you can see the physically, where he's trying to get you to see what he wants you to see spiritually. And this is a problem. Why we had this problem? Because we want to walk out the door, we carefree. How you doing today? Blessed and highly favored? Are you serious? He did this thing and they covered themselves with fig leaves. Why did they cover themselves with fig leaves? Why? It's an abundance of them. But if you look at the construction and how a leaf will do, if the leaf falls from the branch, will the leaf live on the ground? If the leaf falls on the ground, will the leaf live? If a leaf falls from the tree that provides the very substance for it to survive, and it falls from the tree, will the leaf survive? Have you just looked outside and just watched leaves that's on a tree and they fall? Do the leaves survive? Or do you sweep them up and throw them away because they decay? In their restorations, they fade away. So why did they sew fig leaves together, which is going to decay and they're going to still be exposed, and they made themselves aprons with fig leaves? Because they thought something they can temporarily do to fool Christ. They thought this is something they can temporarily do and fool Christ. How? Let's look at this all together and understand this all together. We got to go to Isaiah, and we're going to pick it up at chapter 1, and we're going to go down to verse 28. In verse 28, and it says, as the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together, and they that forsake the Lord shall be consumed. We're going to forsake the Lord because we're going to walk away from what he's actually doing. We're going to walk away from the covenant. We're going to walk away for what we agreed upon, and we clearly knew what was going on before we even agreed upon it. And then when we're in the world, besides staying with God, what we decide to do, we want to go in the world. And we want to see what they're doing, so we want to run with the Joneses. We want to do what they do. So since we're in the world, we're going to act like part of the world. And we buy some sin over here, we buy a little bit of sin over there. We buy some sin over here, we buy some sin over there. And destruction of the transgressors of the sinners shall be together, and they that forsake. And you can put the covenant, Lord, you can remove Lord, but forsake the covenant shall be consumed. If you break the agreement with the Most High, you're going to be consumed. Period. I don't care how we flip this verse around. You're going to be consumed because you have broken the oath. For they should be ashamed of the oaks, and they have ye desired, and shall be confounded the gardens they have chosen. We have went there. Oh, I want to go over here and get some of this. I want to go over there and get some of that. But it's all sin. Well, I tell you what, we'll get something just cover it up. We'll get a little something just cover it up. So our desires of the world, and in fact, when you look at it, everything in this world is temporary. Show me something in this world that's going to be in the world to come. Show one thing. One thing that you're going to have or you're going to see in the world to come. So the petition is this, that this one is in the wilderness that's crying to you, is trying to get you to see the difference on what the Most High God wants you to see. Nothing more. Because if you want to stay in this world and you want to live as this world lives, what's going to happen to you. It tells you even in verse 30, it says, for ye, so say for you, shall be as an oak whose leaf fadeth. See, your leaf going to fade, because when the leaf leaves the tree and is no longer attached to the tree in as a garden that have no water, it's going to die. Because the leaf have no knowledge on how to live. It has no knowledge. So why are we so quick to where we go into sin and we know that this flesh is sinful? Why do we go and look to continue to sin and don't want to give sin back to its rightful owner? We don't want to give this flesh to the rightful owner who owns it. We get away and we sow fig leaves around us that's temporary. Is it protection? No. Is it helping us do anything? No. See, even in Isaiah chapter 64, he makes a lot of things clear for us, but we just choose not to use it. It says, but we are all as unclean things. We're all under sin. But are we going to give back to his rightful owner? And it says, for all righteousness are as filthy rags. Why? Because you cannot do anything according to the flesh to please God. And we all do fade as a leaf. And these bodies is going to fade the same way. And our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. Are you following this? Our flesh is as an unclean thing, a leaf that fell from a tree, leaving the protection of what it was on. Are leaves that fade away. See, when you have a leaf or a tree that has all the leaves there and they don't go anywhere, you can see that the same way as you have in your body, to where everything that he has said that you do, and you bearing much fruit. But when you losing those leaves off your body, you being bare and naked. You see a tree with no leaves. As he said, he prayed not that you be in the winter. It's no leaves on that tree. It's bare and naked. All flesh will be stripped off. When we try to use things such as that to think that we're going to do something and we're going to have this certain way to where we can cover up our sin, how are you going to cover up something that don't belong to you from the first place? And why are you going to try to cover up something and actually even keep it, and it's going to wear out? It's going to wear out and it's going to die. Are you seeing the shallowness that we have? See, if we living for God, we living for what's coming. But most of them want to live for now, and what we have for now. I tell you, let me ask you a question, and you answer within yourself. You answer this within yourself. Do you have clothes? And I'm actually hit women hard, because men we're a little bit different, but same thing. But I'm gonna ask women. You ask the women when you're sitting there saying, do your clothes get old to where you're gonna change them? Wearing clothes, all of a sudden, they don't wear them a few times and they ready to change their clothes because they feel they're old and worn out. The same as a tree, get rid of those leaves and they fade away. Sirach shares this with us. Sirach says something that we need to really pay close attention to. We're going to go to Sirach chapter 14. We're going to pick this up at verse 17. 14 verse 17. Make sure you have this because we need to give back to this rightful owner what belongs to the owner. Don't stop. Return it back to the store from which you got it. And it says, all flesh wax old as a garment. So if it's going to wax old, why do you want to keep it? Why do you want to keep it in the closet? All flesh is going to wax old as a garment. So why are you trying to keep it? Trying to dress it up? And all flesh is that way. But watch what he said. But for the covenant from the beginning, that shall die from his beginning, thou shalt die to death. Because we breaking the covenant. We're breaking the covenant. You have people who trying to preserve this life so badly. They trying to preserve this life so badly. They even have where they getting their heads removed and frozen. So like 20, 30, 40 years later, they can be revived. They think that they had a technology in the doctor's know-how to where they can attach his head onto another body. Not knowing who's up there, are they going to even be willing to give up a body? But you have people who has done this. All flesh waxed old as a garment. So you have people sleeping even in 100% clean rooms, trying to keep flesh that's going to get old as the garment and going to get rid of, and they sleeping in 100% clean rooms. They eat all types of different types of vitamins and different things. We have one of our brothers who he do a lot of research in the medical field, and he shared something with me, and it actually was really kind of shocking. But he even told me, he said, if you take those vitamins, he said, did you know vitamins only, but I think 70 or 80% of it just goes through your bodily as waste. It don't even hit your bloodstream to actually do what it's supposed to do. And majority of it is actually man created. This is what he does. He's in the medical field and he's just sharing some things that they don't share with people. And do you know how many people buy vitamins thinking that those vitamins, and they getting the full use of that vitamin when they ingest it? And he's telling me right up front, based on all the research that they have done with the vitamins, less than 30% goes through your bloodstream. The rest of it goes out as bodily waste. And we're trying to preserve our life with those vitamins. But it goes on more. In verse 18, it says, comparing of the green leaves on a thick tree, some fall and some grow. So comparing these leaves, some going to fall and some going to grow. Some is going to fall. Some is going to, no matter what, they're going to fall. And some is going to grow. So is the generation of flesh and blood. One cometh to an end and another is born. Are you seeing how he's wording this? So the world is based on flesh. So when we look at this one way, some people are going to say, oh, this is one thing, but he's not saying it in that way. He's saying this world is flesh and blood. It's flesh and life is in the blood. All that's going to come to an end. In another will be born. However, man wants to live forever, and God removed of us having that type of knowledge to do what we're trying to do. God removed that to where man want to live a certain way. How do we know? God already said this, and he said this from the beginning. So in Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, he said this from the beginning. It says, and Yahweh God said, remember, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil. And now least he put forth his hand and take of the tree of life and learn and live forever. So I don't care what they do. I don't care what people can tell you. And you have many places to where you can eat healthy, which makes sense, but everybody has a death date. But it's what you do with it before you get there. So if man learned of the tree of life, he could have lived forever, but the Most High stopped that. So all flesh is going to die for that very reason. All flesh is going to die no matter what. So that's why he tells you right here in verse 19, every work rotteth and consumeth away. So no matter what you do, it's going to go rotten or it's going to be consumed. If it's consumed, it goes out another way. So all works of the flesh will be one of the two. Either it's going to go rotten or it's going to be consumed. Don't you want to know and give back to the owner who owns sin? We should be, I'm talking about standing in line trying to give this back to who owns sin. Let's look at something. Let's look at this, because as I'm making this petition to you, we need to understand how these prophets is telling you on what we need to just give back. Stop hoarding up what something that don't even belong to us. So in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 22, it says, but it happened unto them according to the true proverb. What is the true proverb? The dog returned to his vomit again, and the soul that was washed in her wallowing in the myrrh. Are you serious? We have these bodies and we turn into our old ways. But doing what? We wallowing, meaning what? We rolling around in the very thing that we vomited up. We're just rolling in it, in the very thing that we vomited up. And it's like, and I want you to have this visual. Just as you vomit something up, and then you get down and you roll around in it. Just roll in it. Because we have learned to waddle in our sin. We learn to sin, and the life of corruption is in the flesh. This is the thing that I'm trying to get us to see as we go through this, to understand how not to go back to what we once did. Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 17, and it says, I will bring distress upon men, that they walk like blind men. I will bring distress upon men, that they walk like blind men. That they walk like blind. Why? Why he even saying this? Because he's telling, because, wait a minute, he's going to bring distress upon us and we should walk like blind men. Why? Because. Why? Because they have sinned against Yahweh, and their lives shall be poured out as dust. All life is in the blood. In their flesh as dung. Our flesh as poop. Our life is going to be poured back to the dust of the earth from which it came. In the flesh, going to be no different than poop. Why are we trying to save this flesh? Tell me. We're so sinful. Why are we trying to save flesh? Can anyone even sit there and not just, that's why I say I want us to really think about what we do. Can we sit there and see we're seeking to save sinful things in a sinful mind? If I can invite you just to keep this in mind, and hopefully you'll meditate on this, you sit there and you think about it, and as you go through it. In Sirach chapter 28, verse 2. But if you meditate on this and you go back through these precepts, we can start to understand that we have something that don't belong to us, and we need to give it back to its rightful owner. Keep that in mind. We have took hold of something that don't belong to us, and we need to give it back to the rightful owner because it's an enemy to God. In Sirach chapter 28 verse 2, it says, "Forgive thy neighbor in the hurt that he had done unto thee, so shall thy sins be forgiven when thou prayest." I'm gonna tell you the biggest thing in the world is a hypocrite. Meaning what? We'll do this because we're going to see even in verse 3 what he said. He says, "One man beareth hatred against another and doeth seek pardon from the Lord." Meaning what? We will sit there and look to do, look for forgiveness from God and be the biggest sinners in the world. Are you following me? I'm talking about we do things to people and then look for pardon from the Lord. Meaning what? See, this is the problem. See, we'll sit there and we'll do things. So most people will sit there and say, "Well, I'll tell you what, we can do something, but we just don't do nothing to Israel. But we can do anything else to anybody else." If you sin against anybody, any nation, anyone, and then you're going to sit there and do them wrong, and then you want to seek pardon from the Most High. We do it like clockwork. We think that you can treat any nation any kind of other way. You sit there and we have taken people where God put us in slavery. He didn't want to put us away. But then we want the people who's in control now, which is the Gentiles, we want them to give us reparation for being enslaved. Are you serious? No, still not that. See, what they did while we was in slavery is what they shouldn't have did. And the Most High said he's going to take care of that. That's a done deal. However, with that being done, we sit there and as we're waking up, we want to treat people another way. But then we want to go to the Most High and seek pardon. But we'll stand on street corners and you'll call them devils. You call them all kind of, you call them anything. You call them anything. And the first thing that you want to do, now you want to go to the Most High. Now you want to seek pardon. This is what we're good at doing. Why are we good at doing it? Because we believe in a false positive. But it goes on better. In verse 4, it says, he showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself, doeth he ask forgiveness of his own sins. We'll treat people any kind of way. We'll do our own, but not only our own, we'll do this to other people. And then we want to seek pardon. See, we want to show no mercy in seeking forgiveness for ourselves. In the works of the flesh is evil. To bring them forward and then they hate you. See, they'll sit there and they'll hate things that when we bring forward to them, because most people are going to hate God, and they hate God because you bringing truth to them, and it only coming through God, so they hated God first. Let's look at this. We'll come right back to this. We'll come right back to this to just show you the point, what's going on. John chapter 7, verse 7. And he said, the world cannot hate you. They cannot hate you. Why? But me it hateth. See, it's God that they hated. It's Christ who they hated, because I testify of it that the works thereof are evil. They're evil. Are you following what he's saying? They're evil. And he had to come and condemn this sin in flesh. He had to come and condemn it. In John chapter 15 and verse 18, he says, if the world hates you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. It hated him before it hated you. So why are we sitting there having this big problem? See, in verse 5 it says, if he that is but flesh nourish hatred, and if you nourish in hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins? Because you pushing hatred. You pushing hate. You pushing hate, and you don't know why you're doing certain things, and you want to do these crazy things. So I'm going to show you something to where it becomes even more irritating than anything. More irritating than anything. So let's look at.
They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth.
So do you feel sorry for what your people have done?
I have shame for my
Is
culture.
it, bring this last part out one
So
time.
much shame.
Okay.
They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth.
Are you willing to bow down before us to show your guilt for what your ancestors have done?
Yeah.
All right, well, go ahead. You know, we might show favor unto her. You know, if y'all brothers can go ahead with the scriptures.
Come and lick up the dust of thy feet.
We lick the dust off our feet to show repentance and shame for what your ancestors have done. You would disagree. Go ahead.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, she's repented. Go ahead. If you want to go ahead and get your feet kissed. See? This is scriptural. This is scriptural. Hey, and you know.
It's an atrocity what they have done.
Listen to it. She said it's an atrocity.
An absolute atrocity.
It's an absolute atrocity. And guess what? In the kingdom, she just won't be relegated to being a field hand.
That's right.
Right? She's going to be given mercy in the kingdom. And guess what? She's probably an Israelite of our nation, because Esau, he doesn't have a repentant bone in his body.
That's right.
But when he did right now is what every white person should do if they really understood the gravity
That's right.
of the terror that they've imposed
That's
against
right.
all indigenous people.
I know I'm finna see real life. That's Isaiah 49:23. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers. Shall be our nursing fathers, guys. And their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee. Bow down to us. Feel sorry for what your ancestors did? Bow down then. Alright then. Alright, first, stay right there. Just a little bit more. They do, guys. With their face toward the earth and lick up the dust of their feet. Dust of our feet. And you say, you don't feel sorry? Kiss the boot.
Kiss the boot, man.
Kiss my boot. All our boots. Yeah, there you go. It going 1,000 times more. It gonna happen 1,000. Right here, you forgot one. You forgot one. There you go. 1,000 times more, man. All right.
No. I understand. Why? What have you done so worthy? What have you done that's so worthy?
I've
You
suffered for
deserve
my
that.
people. That's what I've done. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord. And thou shalt know that he is the Lord. That's what the Bible says. For they shall not be ashamed. For they shall not be ashamed that what? That wait for me. Because we're waiting on the Most High. All right?
Widows crying out, asking where their husbands went. Got a broke heart, got it all attacked. I had a legs, she came crawling back, fell up in the back.
So, as I said, now they're using Isaiah chapter 49, verse 23. And this is the problem that we have. Because as I keep telling people, in people such as Israel, as I said, we have fools in every nation. Fools. See, because just like I said, they plaster this kind of junk all over the web. Sin. Because that's sin on what they did. One, sin because they lied. Two, they sitting there demeaning a people based on a lie. Why? Because they don't know scripture, but we have fools even sit under these fools. Why? Because these are the same fools that sit there and they'll ride with them because they have demeaned the people and had no right to do anything with what they did. Based on this same verse right here. And it says, and the kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens shall be the nursing mother, and thou shalt bow down with their face towards the earth and lick up the dust of thy feet, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Now, to show you how stupid, and some of the main ones that's doing this was that Sakari stupid group. The main ones doing that crap. They do this silliness, and they're a bunch of fools over there, but we have many people who like to listen to these stupidity dudes. Because this is something to where when you see this happening in the flesh, you shouldn't even support it. Even your children shouldn't support that kind of stupidity. Because this doesn't mean what they just said it means. This don't have nothing to do with kissing of the feet. But they saying that's what it means. And that one stupid fool said that was scriptural. And then two, they talking about what you gonna be in the kingdom. And they not even guaranteed to be in the kingdom, which doing what they doing and they don't turn what they doing, guaranteeing you they won't be in the kingdom. As I said, we need to give this flesh back from which it came. Because we ain't doing, they are doing nothing no different than what was happening to us 100 years ago. No difference. Israelite fools. Hebrew fools causing more issues than anything that is there. See, the lick, as what the scripture says, is to take upon themselves of their own mouths every problem they have spoken. I'll say that again. That's what lick means. to take upon themselves from their own mouths every problem they have spoken. Let me give you an example on why they screw this verse up. Because just as I said, see, we have people who actually goes out and they teach on these corners and they teach stupidity. But let's see what this verse actually means. So we have to precept it to find out what it actually says. So we're going to go to 1 Kings, and we got to look at this chapter 1 verse 1 Kings verse 21 verse 19. Verse 19, and we're going to see what this says. In verse 19, and as I said, they got to lick it up. So they got to take on the same thing. And it says, "And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, hast thou killed and have taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, in the place where the dogs licked up the lives of Naboth, shall dogs lick the life, even thine." That's all it's saying. So we doing the same thing, and that same life has to go for that, for what they have spoken and what they have done. Numbers, even better, Numbers 22 verse 4, even makes it a little bit more clear. 22 verse 4, it says, "Moab said unto the elders of Midian, Now shall they company lick up that around and about us as the ox licketh up the grass of the field." Why is it saying it even like that? So it's saying now this company should take up for themselves out of their own mouth and take on the problem that they have spoken. That's all this is saying. That's round and about us. So when you remove the flesh, when you removing the flesh, and we can live in the spirit, we can do better things. Because we have to remove the flesh, and we have to put this flesh from which the owner has. Meaning what? See, we get rid of the flesh, we can understand what's going on. We get rid of the flesh, and we're just going to do exactly what God said. It said, and here's the whole conclusion of the whole matter. See, we need to fear God and keep his commandments. And this is the duty of man. This is our duty. And if we do what we're supposed to do, this is why he says this in Genesis right from the beginning. Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. It says, "If thou doest well, should thou not be accepted? If thou doest well, should thou not be accepted?" "And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door." So the easiest way to get rid of sin is to get rid of what sin owns. And what sin owns is something that we got to get rid of. And it's right here. We're going to go to Colossians chapter 2 and verse 14. And we can blot out the handwriting and ordinances which was against us, because he's going to make you, when we take on this body and we want to take on those sinful ways, he owns us. And that is which was contrary to us. So we have to get rid of that. We have to get rid of that what is owned by sin. That's our body. That's that flesh. See, we have to take that out of the way and nail it to its suffering unto death, to the cross. If we do these things, we're going to get what belongs to sin, and we'll be all right. This is how we get rid of sin. We have to get rid of what he owns, because sin is always going to look for what rightfully belongs to him. I think I might have went too far. Yeah, I think I went too far, but that's okay. So we have to, so if you own, or you think that you have something that belongs to him,
they shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth.
So do you feel sorry for what your people have done?
I have shame for my
Is
Culture.
it, bring this last part out.
This went too far out. But the main thing, what we want to make sure of is this. We don't want to stay in sin. Because if you don't sin, the owner always going to see what belongs back to him. So we need to give what's rightfully back to him, which is this flesh, which is sinful. We give it back to him to where he can stop looking for it, because he's always going to look for what he rightfully owns. And he rightfully owns, which is inside this flesh. Inside this flesh is sin. He is the owner of sin. So if he's the owner of sin, he have a right to seek what is rightfully his. Give it to him. So hopefully we have some understanding from this teaching, and that what we need to do is give what belongs to the rightful owner to the rightful owner. This flesh belongs to him. Our spirit belongs to God. Give to the rightful owner what belongs to them. So hopefully you guys got some understanding from this, and that we can continue forward as what goes to the rightful owner. Make sure we do these things. So if we have any questions, we're more than welcome. We can take up any question right now to go through there to pick up anything. So I do have a little time to where we can actually pick it up if we need to. But if we have any questions, we can easily take it up, and I appreciate it if you do, and if not, we'll go out. And I do appreciate it. I thank you for that. And hopefully with this weekly Israelite teaching, to where we got some understanding from this, because we're no better than anyone. And I appreciate that. I appreciate it. And but we need to make sure when we move forward, we have to get rid of these. As long as if we're not mortifying these bodies and doing this in the way that the Most High said, we're wasting our time. It's nothing he can use. So hopefully we can understand that. Hopefully we can move forward with it, and hopefully that most people understand what was going on. And I heard you say, if you do it right by him, it's nothing to him of us of our life out. I'm not understanding what you're saying. I heard you say, if we do right by him, it's nothing to him if us living our life out. Yeah, I'm not understanding how you're saying that. And I cannot listen to those men. It's very hard. Yeah, they're a bunch of fools. They're a bunch of fools. And basically what they do, and what they like to do is demean people on the street. However, they like to sit there and think that they're guaranteed a seat, and they actually telling the Most High who's coming in and who's not. Pretty silly. And that's something you need to do. You need to meditate on this. Make sure you go back over the scriptures, the ones I gave you on the precept, and we need to give what belongs to that rightful owner, because that rightful owner, the same as Yahweh, I say, what shepherd having 100 sheep, and one get lost in the wilderness, he go not after that one. It's the same. You flip that around. The same one who is the father of sin. If you sitting there and you still have that sin that's in your flesh, and you go out and you trying to come into the truth, he's going to do what? He's going to come after you. Why? Because you have something that belongs to him. He's the owner of sin. So the only way you can do it, you have to kill the flesh. And meaning what? You have to mortify the body, and you have to let Christ live through you. That's how you do it. And the more and more I understand between the spiritual mind and flesh, wow, okay, I appreciate it, and they're not in taco. Okay, yeah. Yes, and actually all that's correct. Yeah, they talk loud, they like to talk over you, and yeah, and they act like, yeah, the Most High gave them the keys to the kingdom, and they don't. And if you sit there and you talk to them long enough, they'll sit there and they will cuss you out. That's things they will do. So yeah, and yes, and yeah, IUIC, all of them run that way, and it's disrespectful. It's the same thing as when you look at stuff like that. You know, what if that was your brother? What if that was your sister? What if that was your mother? And you seen them on tape, and they sitting there making fun of you, and they doing that, and they making fun of your mother. They making fun of your wife. They making fun of your daughter. See that, and that'll anger you. And this is what they do. And they think it's cool, and it's really silly. And then you already see they dress up in clown suits, and they thinking, you know, they have on all these clown suit stuff, attire, and they think it's cool. So the easiest way to do it is you have to show your separation between them. And hey, shalom. Yeah, and most of them do have a pork chop preacher certificate. A lot of them do. Many of them do. So but that's what they like to do. They like to go through, and then they try to run analogies. So with that, you know, and what they're doing, they keeping the owner to the rightful owner, because they doing sin, and they keeping their ownership, and they doing according to sin, which the owner of sin makes them do. Because if they were doing the other way, then what ended up happening is that the owner going to come seek, and he want to take back what was rightfully his. Yeah, they dress like that, and that's just the stupidity that they've been doing. And mainly, a lot of that stuff came out of New York, where they literally seem like they need to go on a movie show. Literally, what goes on, because they put on a lot of different attire, and literally just boils down to stupidness. You know, and screen Esau as a white man over and over. Yeah, and that's literally what they cannot do. So it goes back to the same thing. If Esau is the white man, then the same thing, it says that you cannot harbor, you cannot hate your brother. But they'll sit there and tell you they hate their brother. So even with that alone, that shows you all the stupidity that they have. Yeah, that's what they do. Wearing jeans, yeah. And the main thing, that's one thing they do. They like to call you over, and then they like to tell the lie. And there's ways the way you can actually nail them on that stuff. You know, Ohio saturated with camps. I just got another way and encountered them. I've been cursed at time or two. Yeah, that's what actually happens. Because they will curse you out. They don't have no problem with it. Scary about them. Some of them are police officers, masons. Okay, so I don't get into where they police officer and mason, because one, if they're police officer and mason, you can actually do damage to them. So police officers, they can be a camp. Police officer, I can care less, because if they're a police officer in camp, you can actually twist them up. So that is not the issue. You know, so yeah, that's a whole nother ball game. Because if you're a camp and you're a police officer, it's too easy to twist them up. If I'm talking about too easy. And Mason, I can care less. Mason, that's all just stupidity. So I can care less about that. And most of them, if they're Mason, they'll never tell you, because Mason's supposed to be secret. So how you gonna know? And they make it a secret. So that's within itself. So when people normally tell me that this person is a Mason or they're Illuminati, all that stuff and with the secrets about what they carry, how would people know who they are? And it's a secret. Makes no sense. So with that, I hope that you guys have that. I've seen no other questions actually coming up pertaining to the actually teaching. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get ready to go out. But hopefully that you guys go back and quite a few precepts that you need to meditate on. Go back through it. Make sure that you guys understand what was happening. And then also, I do know tomorrow we do have Elder T has a real important teaching that's going out tomorrow. If you guys can make it over there and he does his live, you need to make it, because Elder Jenkins will go out normally Friday morning, which he is to go out, but then Elder T does his in the evening. Well, he does his in the evening. There, it's kind of like late afternoon over here on my side. But I know it's normally at 4:30 or 5 o'clock that he'll run it. But he's running a very, very, very important teaching tomorrow. And if you guys can catch it, please make sure you catch it, because I'm telling you, he's bringing some stuff out that actually gonna probably shock everybody half to death. So if you can, make sure you go over there and you join it, because if you don't get a chance, make sure you can go over there, get a notification, because I'm gonna tell you, he has some information that's literally gonna shock many, 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 many people. So you owe it to yourself, and if you're looking for your safety and health, you owe it to yourself to actually watch his teaching. And there's 100. And I was there on 125th in the Israeli School of Practical Knowledge. No one is guaranteed to heaven. Okay. Okay, and who? Yeah, who? That's Elder T's. And that's North Carolina. Actually, I probably can put it on there. I probably can get that on there. I don't know if I can. Yeah, so right now we're just going through based on what was going on. Has the book of Joshua, the book of Joshua already been sent out. If you got the book through myself, then the book was already sent out. If you got the book through Lulu, that's between you and Lulu. So I'm not sure if you got it between me. If you got it between me, it's already sent out. But if you got it from Lulu, then I don't know what you and Lulu, when you might have purchased it. So if it's between me, yeah, the guaranteed is already sent. And yeah, because I think I have 3 more here. I think it's 3 more here that we actually have. And this here, I think we have everything else. But with that, I appreciate everybody. Let me see. I want to make sure. Cash out. But it won't go through. Yeah, and with those, it's easier just to go ahead and send it by mail if you can't do that. And yeah, most people saying, they can't wait for Elder T. Yeah, I'm telling you. What this brother will get ready to bring out tomorrow is crazy. I'm going to tell you right now, crazy. And it's going to actually shock a lot of people. So, and with his, I'm going to let Jim bring out what he got to bring out. That's why I'm not telling you what it is, but it's extremely serious. It's extremely, extremely serious. And so can we? Okay, yeah. So we have everything there. We have everything there. So yeah. So with that, I appreciate everybody who has joined in. So until I know tomorrow, Elder T's. Until I know tomorrow, Elder T's. Friday morning, I know Elder Jenkins. And then I will be coming back out on the Sabbath day to where we do our regular Sabbath teaching. So until then, let me get all that straight. So until then, I bid each and every person a shalom.